Alright, so I finally got my hands on the Z Fold 7, and in this video I'm going to be going through all of my customizations that I will be making to this device and how exactly I use it. So I'm going to cover good lock, multitasking and shortcuts that I use, camera settings, etc. It's going to be a full in-depth customization video. So watch the whole video to see how I went from this to this. And also you can use the timestamps to skip to what you want to know about specifically. The first thing I do is I get rid of all the apps I don't want. So all these Samsung apps. Don't get me wrong, I use some of the first party Samsung apps. I think Samsung's apps are just good in general, but there are some that I don't use, and this goes for any phone, like on Pixel devices as well. There's Google TV and stuff like that. I don't use that. So anything I don't use, I'm just gonna select it and get rid of it. Then when you have all the apps, you just uninstall one by one after selecting all of them. Select, uninstall, boom, 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 and boom. All right, so after I uninstalled those apps, now I organize my app drawer because that's just what I like to do. So I'm gonna grab similar apps, like for example, social media apps, and I'm gonna bunch them all together in one folder. Create a folder, boom, social media, or I'll put socials. And then the color, what I like to do is go right here and slide the opacity down to 0. So now there's no color on the folder and it's just like this on your app drawer. And yeah, I'm just going to organize all these apps into folders in the app drawer because it is very important for me. All right, so now that all my apps are in folders, as you can see, organized alphabetically, devices, finances, games, media, productivity, stuff like that. Now it's time to get into the visual customization. So the first thing I'm going to do is head to Samsung Store, and then I'm going to search for Good Lock. This is key for all the customizations that I mainly use and love on Samsung devices. Good Lock is just such an amazing app, and it is a Samsung first-party app that they developed themselves. There's just so many cool features, so many things you can do. But for now, I'm just going to show you what I do personally. So theme park, I download that. Nav Star, Home Up, Multistar, Registar, Sound Assistant. I already have Camera Assistant installed as well. I believe those are the main ones. So first things first, head into theme park. So what I'm going to do in theme park is apply my icons. So I'm just going to go to icon at the bottom, create new, icon pack, select retro mode light. That's the icon pack I use. You can find it in the Play Store. And then go to change icons. So when you have an icon pack on your Galaxy device, sometimes the icon pack doesn't cover every single app. But the cool thing about theme park is that you can go in and select all the apps that don't have icons. And usually these icon packs come with a bunch of additional icons that you can choose from. So you click these 3 dots, go to change icons, go down, then you'll see all the apps that don't have icons in this pack. You can select the apps and then choose the icon pack, and then boom. So many icons that you can select to give these apps icons. So I'm just going to search video for LumaFusion. Boom. Simple as that. For this is Freedom Mobile, so I'll just get a phone. Boom. And then these are like universal icons. So this is like the folder icon. You could change the way that folders look if you want. And especially with these icons, they're transparent, so it could look interesting. But I'm going to leave that as normal. And then for the all apps button, you could also customize how that looks as well. But for now, that's basically it. Just setting my icons. Then I'm going to go here, press install. Let's go 1. Boom. Then you just tap it, press apply, and there you go. My icon pack is now set, and I think it looks pretty sick. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now, just as a base with the aesthetic and the visual customizations I like, I'm going to change the wallpaper. For me personally, I like to use a simple wallpaper. You can do this straight from Samsung's features built in. So you just go to wallpapers and style, change wallpaper, go down, and then you'll find colors. So here you can choose like these different kinds of like colors. So you have like gradients and stuff like that. I'm gonna just choose the blank color and then go to colors, and then you have style. So I'll pick something like this, a slight gradient. And then right here, you can choose your own color, like dial it in with the swatches or the spectrum, or you can even type in the, forgot what it's called, but you know, the numbers. So I'm actually just going to choose one of these gray ones, and then I'm going to make it dark enough so that the system automatically shows white icons and text and stuff like that, but light enough so that it's not super dark. Find that balance, and boom, there's that. So now while I'm here, I'm just going to customize the lock screen as well. So on the lock screen for Samsung phones, you have many options for your clock style. I used to like this one a lot, but then I find that when I glance over, I can't really see the time right here, even with the maximum size. Like I can see it, but it's not as nice. So anyways, I'm just going to choose this. And then now let's get some widgets. So main widgets I'll probably use are like battery, There's not too much on Samsung lock screens for the widgets. I'll choose reminders and my Samsung Health. And then for here, the bottom, flashlight and camera. And that's basically it for my lock screen. My color is applied to the home screen. So this is just the base. This is where I start. So next, now what I'm going to do is customize my home screens. So on Z Fold devices, you have two separate displays and you can have them customized separately, different from each other. And that's something that I really like about Samsung foldables. So I'm actually going to customize them in different ways. So on the inside screen, it's more about, actually using the device, getting into the different sessions and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is just remove all these apps first of all. So now it's a blank canvas. I'm actually going to select all the folders that I have. And I know that people are going to think it's too cluttered or whatever, but it is what it is. And I'm going to bring these to my home screen. What you can do now in One UI 7 is enlarge the folders. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to enlarge this one because I use this a lot. And you can quickly tap on them to launch them straight from the icon of the folder rather than going into the folder and selecting it. So boom, there's that. All right, so actually I realized I need to go into Good Lock to actually customize my home screen how I want. So let me just actually get started on that stuff. So go back to Good Lock and now I'm gonna go to Home Up. So Home Up, you turn it on and then I'll go to Home Screen. And the things that I mainly use are pop-up folder and then the favorite max count. I'll change that to 12. So that way at the bottom you can have up to 12 apps. So that is just nice for multitasking. So if I go in the app, you can see my taskbar has up to 12 apps and the additional recommended apps as well. And then you can go pretty wild with Home Up if you turn on DIY home screen. Basically alter the home screen to like whatever you want. So like you can put apps on top of each other. You can move widgets wherever you want. You can go wild with it, but for now, I'm gonna turn that off. And then another thing that I like to turn on is horizontal scroll. This doesn't really matter though, because I keep all my apps in a folder anyways, but if you want to scroll horizontally, you can do that even while using the alphabetical sorting. Sometimes I'll mess around with like the grid and make things bigger if you need to, but I feel like at the moment I'm fine with just the default grid size. And then the other thing I turn on is task switcher. This is very important to me. Like I said before, Samsung, I don't know why they default to the regular task switcher that their normal slab phones have. Every other foldable phone has a task switcher that looks like this, where you can see more apps on the screen at one time and you can just do different things from here. Like you can grab an app, put it into floating window, split screen or whatever, and it's just way better than what it was before. So I'll show you, this is how it was before, and it's just like super slow, to be honest. When you have this big screen, you're not really using it. When you have an app switcher like this, so a grid, way better. Then I use edge panel customization. So I turn on, so this is actually kind of new. So you can open app into a floating window by default, just by tapping it. So that is something that I will use a lot on my foldable phones on Samsung. So normally I used to have it with the split screen view. So if you just tap an app, it will open it into a split screen quickly. But now they have the pop-up. So I'm turning that on all day. It's just so easy. Like, look, if I want to open something in the pop-up view, I can do that and just have up to 5 apps in pop-up floating windows very easily. Resize them, throw them off to the side, etc. So that is amazing. Have that on for sure. And then I also turn on this, show edge panel in immersive mode. So when you're in like a full screen thing, like a game or a video, sometimes the edge panel will go away and you can't use it. I like to have access to it at all times, so I just turn it on. And then this just gives you more space on the edge panel, so now you can have a lot more apps without having to scroll to the bottom. So that is really nice. I turned it on as well. So here, gesture settings, I haven't actually messed around with this too much since One UI 7 came out, but you can actually tune your animations to exactly how you want them. So you can make them super smooth, super fast, slow. You can tune the ending of the animations. You can tune the beginning, the fading, all that kind of stuff. There is a lot that you can tweak with the gestures and the animations on your Samsung devices. So if you are interested in that, then definitely mess around with that for sure. But for now, I'll leave that off. And then taskbar, this is something that is important to me. So this will show the maximum amount of recommended apps. Before, there was a certain update that kind of got rid of the recommended apps at the max amount when you have, a lot of apps on your taskbar. So now this will allow you to do that. And this as well, in the past, you used to be able to just tap and hold the taskbar and then it will stay. But now you only have 2 modes, either like this where you have to swipe to bring it up, or it's just there all the time. But this allows you to quickly switch between the 2 modes, which I really like. So boom, now I have the other taskbar. This is the mode that I like by default, but sometimes you want to get rid of it. Tap this and it's gone. Bring it back and tap and it's here. So that is nice. And that's basically all that I changed in HomeUp. And quickly, another cool thing you can do actually with HomeUp is you can actually get rid of the favorite apps. So if we go here and then show favorites, you just turn that off and the favorite apps will be gone at the bottom. So now it's just full screen if that's something you want to turn off. I don't know why you would want to, but yeah. The taskbar will still be there. You can just turn it back on if you want to customize the taskbar. That's just another thing that people might be interested in. Nav Star. This, I turn on transparent hints and then also enable extra gesture settings. So now I go to your settings app, go to display, go down to navigation bar, more options, gesture hint. I just turned that off. So now the line at the bottom is gone and I have all display type of feel. Going back to good lock, go to Multistar, iHeart Photobles, rotate with our best. So this will just force apps that don't rotate into landscape. It will make them rotate. Some apps might not be that compatible, but it is what it is. When starting the app, do not show the pop-up. Sometimes when you're starting apps in floating windows or split screen, it will say this app might not be compatible. You can turn that off so it never says that. And then this, show the app always full screen when unfolding. So I just turned that on. Personally, I rather the app just restart and be full screen than me having to press the button at the bottom to expand it. Continue all apps on the front screen. I like to do that personally, so I'll turn it on always, but you also have the option to swipe up to continue just like on the Chinese foldable phones. And then you have multi-focus. This is very important for me. Certain games and apps will just stop running if you have your focus on another app. So I'll show you an example of what focus means. So if I open this app, you can see this blue bar at the top. This is where your focus is. But if I tap this app, then the focus is on this app. So when your focus is on another app, certain apps will stop running, but multi-focus allows it so that the apps will just continue running no matter what. And then remove blur effect when adjusting split screen. So let me just show you an example of that. So no blur, and then with blur. I just feel like the blur is kind of unnecessary, so I just turned it off. And then prevent pop-up minimization. This is very important to me as well. So if I turn this into a floating window and it's all good, go into another app, floating windows here. If I swipe up, then it will keep the app open. If I turn that off, then what will happen is all your floating windows, when you swipe up, will be minimized into little icons like this. So I don't like that personally. If I have a floating window open, I want it to stay open as long as I have it open. Then I choose to close it if I want to. So I turn on prevent pop-up minimization, and then high resolutions for external display, turn that on for Samsung DeX, so you can have 4K output from your Z Fold 7 when you're doing desktop mode on an external screen. That's basically it for Multistar. Camera assistant, I turn on the 2x crop zoom shortcut. I leave auto HDR on. Picture softening, I leave it. Unless you're trying to experiment with different looks from your cameras, then you can mess around with that. Auto lens switch, and I turn this off. I hate it. Let's say you're trying to take a 3x photo. If it thinks that the lighting is not good enough or something like that, or the focus is not good enough, it's gonna crop into the main camera sensor rather than using the 3x camera. And a lot of times that just looks bad or worse than what you would have got from the native camera at the native focal length. So I don't really like when the software is telling me what camera to use. And then everything I pretty much leave as it was. Camera timeout, I turned that to 10 minutes. Then we got Registar. So I actually use this for a quick screenshot. So I'm gonna show you that. And I also customize my settings app. So you can actually reorder all the things in your settings app, and you can also hide things too so that they're not cluttered on the first page when you go in settings. But for now, I'll leave that. And then I'm gonna go to side key press, turn this on, take a screenshot, but I'm gonna change it to basic. So now I just press the power button and hold it, and it takes a screenshot. I find that so much easier than all the gestures. Like on Samsung devices, you can go like this, or you can, press the power button and the volume button, but that's a lot of work. So just holding the power button and boom, I take a screenshot. You can also set this to do many different things, like open the app, back button, show notifications, etc. Very customizable in terms of navigation. Then sound assistant, very important to me as well. So here you just turn this on, customize your volume panel. And what this does is it allows you to manage your individual app volumes. So if I go into the volume panel, you can see YouTube's icon right here. And now I can individually adjust the volume for the YouTube app. And if I have other apps open, like let's say I have, boom, now I have the game at the bottom, YouTube at the top. And so I click this, I can adjust both of those apps volumes individually. So let's say I still want to hear Minecraft sounds, but I don't want it to be overwhelming. So I could turn down Minecraft slightly and listen to my video at the top or my podcast or whatever it is. So very useful feature for me personally. And then another setting that I mess around with in Sound Assistant, and you can also customize your volume panel look, just like the colors of it as well. So that is nice. I don't really mess around with that too much. I don't really care for that. Another setting that I do mess around with is multi-sound. So allowing certain apps or all apps to play audio at the same time. So like, let's say you go on Instagram and then you go on YouTube, your phone will pause one or the other to play audio from the other app. But when you turn this on, it will allow audio to play at the same time for certain apps or all apps. And if you use individual app volumes, like you customize the volume of all your apps, then it's kind of like a non-issue depending on what apps. Like, let's say I'm on YouTube. YouTube is at the highest. Instagram will always be at like the middle volume. So now when I go on Instagram, I can still continue this to my podcast and still hear the video that is playing on Instagram at a lower volume, if I need to like kind of hear what's going on. But that's just a quick example. So, this, I do turn this on for all apps. And then if I don't want an app playing volume while I'm on another app, I'll just pause the app. So I like to have control. And that's basically it for Sound Assistant. So now one thing I forgot was one-hand operations. And I don't know how I forgot it because this is like my bread and butter for Samsung devices. This is one of the main things that keeps me on Samsung because of the ease of navigation. Like, I can't even stress this to people enough, how amazing one-hand operations is and how it just transforms the way you use your phone and your device, especially on a big screen like this. When you get in the page, you have your left handle, your right handle, and I basically customize them exactly the same. So for short swipe, you have 3 different directions, and long swipes as well, 3 different directions. So swipe up, swipe down, swipe to the middle. You see this arrow coming out. For short swipe, I just keep it as all of them as back swipe because I don't really want anything else to happen if I short swipe. But if you are somebody who is very intentional with your swipes, then you could utilize short swipes and have like, so many different shortcuts to do different things. Like, as you can see, there's so many different options for navigating your device, for using it, for starting things, etc. But I'm gonna just keep it as back for all the short swipes. What I really use is long swipe. So I'm gonna turn that on. And then usually for the straight across, I turn on quick launcher, and then I customize quick launcher to show recent apps and 4 pages. So this is what it looks like. This is basically like a little launcher. It will have your recent apps, and you can also customize it to add specific apps here. You can make folders and stuff like that. But what it allows you to do is basically like navigate your phone very quickly. So I can just boom, boom, boom. I can go through all the apps on my phone or the main apps I use very quickly and easily. Like, this is alone just makes using a Samsung device so much faster, so much easier, so much smoother for me personally. So I love that. So getting back into it, then I customize the other directions as well. So up, I will either have it on a quick split screen or a quick floating window, depending on how I feel. I go back and forth. And then down, I put it to quick tools. This is very important to me as well. So I customize quick tools, and you can see all these things. So most of the things you have in your quick toggles right here, you can add it to this little menu. So I'll take off the default things that I don't really need. One of the main things I like on this quick tools menu is do not disturb. And another one is hotspot. And it's very simple. So now when I swipe and hold down, I have this little menu right here, and I can access my quick toggles that I set there. But I also love the fact that you can adjust your brightness. This is something I always do on my phone constantly because auto brightness sucks on every device I've used. Whether it be the Pro iPhones, the Pro Pixels, the Pro Samsungs, Ultra Samsungs, the Chinese phones, the top end Chinese phones. Auto brightness is not good enough for me. So I always adjust my brightness manually, and being able to just boom and do it so quickly is amazing. Another thing is you can adjust your volume right here. So being able to access your volume slider without having to press the button, you guys don't understand how amazing that is for me. And I'm constantly doing that because I'm doing different things on my phone. So I'll just quickly adjust the volume, play, pause, skip, adjust my brightness, on the fly whenever I want. Just boom. It's so simple, so fast, so easy. So that's how I customize the 3 directions. And then I'm going to basically mimic the same thing on the right side as well. Make sure this is back. And then straight across will be the quick launcher. And once you customize these things, they are customized. On this side, it will be the same settings. So now that I have my shortcuts set, what I want to do is adjust the size of the area that this works from. Move it down because I have my edge panel that I also use. And then I'm just going to make sure it fills all the space that is not the edge panel. And then I go into gesture settings, and here's where you can fine tune it. You can adjust like the swipe distance and the angles and stuff like that of the gestures. What I mainly change is the long swipe duration. I lower this just enough so that it's really fast, but also like I'll never have issues doing a regular back swipe. I can do either a quick swipe or a long swipe very easily on command. It's just so tough, so fast. Like you see me switching between these menus, enter into a split screen, like very, very quick navigation on my phone. Let's say I want to go to the Play Store. Boom, go to the Play Store. Oh, let's see, I want to turn up my brightness. I can do that right there. Let's say I want to turn down my volume, check my notifications, or I want to turn on my hotspot, turn off my hotspot, turn on my flashlight, or I want to do a quick split screen, swipe up, and there you go. You can choose Google Chrome. It's just so fast. And like, yes, I do use this as well. 2-finger swipe from the bottom or 2-finger swipe from either side for when I want to be intentional, but where I put my split screen session or like the app. I do use those gestures as well, but being able to swipe up is just so quick and convenient so easily. And then going back to one-hand operations, the final thing I change is I turn off the animation. So before it was this arrow that would pop up. You see that animation right here, but now I turn it off and it's just nothing. So no bottom bar and no gesture animation. It's just a clean screen. That's how I like my device. And with that, that's basically how I customize my phone from. So now let's actually go into settings, and I'm going to show you all the settings I changed within the default Samsung settings. Starting with sound and vibration, here I go to separate app sound and I turn this on and then select specific apps that I want to play on a specific device. So the way this works is that if you have Bluetooth earphones, for example, you can play audio from your phone and from the Bluetooth device at the same time. So like, let's say I'll have YouTube playing out loud from my phone, but then also music from YouTube Music playing in my ears in my Bluetooth headphones. 2 different audio streams coming from 2 different places, going to 2 different places. So whether it be on my device or the external audio device that is connected to my phone. So I turn this on and I'll select things like YouTube, YouTube Music, Crunchyroll, whatever media apps that I have, and then I'll just, if I have headphones connected, then they will always go to my ear as opposed to playing out loud unless I want them to. And when you turn this on, so let's just select the app. Even though you have that setting on, when you have your Bluetooth device connected, you will see an icon at the top, and you can select between, you can toggle between these 2 options. So toggle between whether it's playing on your phone or on the Bluetooth device very easily. All from here, it will just be a little icon at the top, so you're not restricted to just having the setting on by default at all times. You can quickly toggle back and forth between it once you turn it on. Super nice. And then display settings, I have obviously 120 hertz, motion adaptive, and then screen mode, I'll have it natural because I want to see actual colors. I don't want to see fake vivid colors. Screen layout, you can turn down the screen zoom to get more real estate on your Z Fold device. It'll make it feel more like a tablet, and some apps will just give you the tablet version instead of the phone version blown up. And then aspect ratio, so here you can force apps to be full screen 4:3 or 16:9. 16:9 is useful with certain games that just don't fill up the screen well, like for example Wild Rift or Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact. You lose a lot of field of view on the sides when you're playing on a square-ish aspect ratio like this. So putting the game in 16:9 helps. Personally, I just leave the apps, and then if I'm playing a game, I'll just split screen like this and have the game at the bottom because that's a way better aspect ratio, way more like a normal phone. And then I can also do something at the top anyways. But if you're full screening and you want like a good field of view, you want to be competitive on this device, then yeah, 16:9 is probably your friend. Or just play on the outside screen because this is basically a normal phone now. Camera cutout, you can adjust whether it shows the camera cutout or not. So let's just give you an example. Okay, so you see the camera cutout here. Now let's see what happens if I turn off the camera cutout in YouTube. So now I do not have the camera cutout anymore. The video is going to be a little bit smaller, but like at least there's no black dot on the screen. So you got to pick your poison. It's still going to be a decent size, like basically a regular smartphone size if you do that, turn off the camera cutout in videos and certain apps. Yeah, I just feel like that black bar at the top it does not look good. So I'd rather just have the camera cutout inside the video. There is no under display camera this year, so you gotta make compromises. So yeah, that's what camera cutout does. Then edge panel, very important to me. I'll turn on tools and clipboard, maybe reminders sometimes. But basically that allows you to swipe between these different edge panels and do different things. And the tools one is pretty sick because it has many different tools, as it is called. You can do a tally counter, so you can count how many times something has happened or whatever. Reset it, and vibration and a target. Then you have the flashlight. You can actually adjust the brightness. You can do SOS if you want. And then you also have the leveler, so you can literally use your Z Fold device as a level, you know, if you're trying to like figure out if something is going to be leveled or not. So that's pretty cool. The ruler, so literally using your phone as a ruler side by side. So that's pretty cool if you just need to quickly measure something. The tools are pretty cool, and then clipboard is self-explanatory. These things you copy, you know. But the main edge panel that I use is this one where you can add your apps. And the way that I use it is I just put like essential things that I use pretty often and that I need access to like very quickly. You might think like, oh, you have the taskbar, you also have this, but I use all those things completely different from each other. So for example, the edge panel, I mainly use it to access things in a floating window. So if I'm in Google Chrome and, you know, I want to pull up the calculator, I'll just grab it from the edge panel and then boom. Now I have my floating window calculator and I can do that very quickly. Edge panel is for multitasking. Taskbar is for like specific apps that I need at all times or at any moment that I want to like full screen. And then this menu is literally just for whatever. So let's say I'm doing something, I want to open up YouTube or settings. So one thing I turn on with the edge panel, you go to the pencil, right here, the dots, choose tap instead of hold. So what this allows you to do is quickly just tap the app and it will enter into split screen right away rather than having to drag it into split screen manually. So some people don't like that, but personally I love it because like just watch how fast this is. So I go into my notes app. I want to go split screen with Chrome. I can do that real quick. Oh, I want a third app. I want the calculator so I can calculate while I'm doing stuff. Press it, boom. There's no dragging it and trying to get it right. As you see, I messed that up and things like that. Like it'll just boom, 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 split screen. And then obviously you can rotate it to adjust your split screen session. You can adjust the sizes. Calculator only needs to be this small, you know, you don't need to be that big. And you can do so many different things. I can bring this right here and you could do a lot, man. I forgot to mention that the quick launcher also allows you to tap and hold and open a split screen or a floating window. So yeah, the navigation is just on level 10 for Samsung devices, bro. I just really love it. Especially with the outer display on the Z Fold 6. It was so amazing to just boom, you know, boom, boom, boom. Like, let's say I'm in Chrome. I want to do a split screen. I can do that so quickly. Like, look at how fast that is. And then let's say I'm in Play Store and I want to go to YouTube. Just bomb and I'm on YouTube. Like, it's just, the navigation is amazing. Even on this small screen, I could do so much more on this phone than I could with like any other Android phone and especially any iPhone. The ability to just navigate your device, split screen, all that stuff is just so tough on Samsung devices. So that's the edge panel. And then continue apps on the cover screen. I already showed this, but I have that set to always so that I can quickly transition between the two screens. Accidental touch protection, just leave that on. Show charging information, show the speed and stuff like that. Battery protection, I personally don't use this. I feel like if you're buying a phone and you're setting it to 80%, you're losing out on 20% of battery life that you could have had. And yeah, people do it for battery health, but like, I mean, if you watch my channel for a while, you know how often I switch phones. Like, I'm always switching, so I might not even keep the phone for that long to the point where the battery is degrading super heavily. So I just leave it on max so that I get the maximum out of my device while I have it. Especially with all the tradings and stuff like that. Like, even somebody who might want to keep their phone for 5 to 7 years, you know, with the software support being 7 years now, even somebody who might want to do that, the tradings might just be super nice. You might be able to get like a Z Fold 8 or a Z Fold 9 for like a couple $100s, and the upgrades might be really good. So battery protection, I understand it. You know, if you literally are going to keep your device for as long as possible, then I understand it to some extent. But I would rather just use my device, and I feel like battery optimization and health has gotten so much better with, you know, smartphones and just technology in general. Batteries are way better than they used to be. Auto dim screen at 5%, turn that off because I don't want that. Let me use my battery. Let me use my phone until it dies. Show battery percentage, I turn that on as well. Then you saw what I do with the wallpaper and the lock screen already. Themes, you don't really need to mess with this if you use Good Lock, but in here you can find different themes and icons from other people as well. There's some that are paid, there's some that are free. Home screen, you can customize the app size of the icons. You can mirror the cover screen so that the layout is exactly the same instead of having like two separate layouts. Like this, see, two completely different wallpapers and layouts. Personally, I like to have two separate screens for different use cases. Folder grid, 4x4. Google Discover, I turn that off. So add icons for new apps on your home screen. So when you download a new app, it will add it to your home screen automatically. I like that because I might want to use it. Then the app icon badges, I'll use the numbers. Rotate to landscape. So sometimes I might be using my Z Fold in landscape. So I just set the home screen to be able to rotate as well. This, I turn this off. I hate this roaming clock. Like when I'm somewhere and then I'm roaming and it shows a different clock. Personally, I don't like that, but I know some people use it. So there's that. Always on display, I turn that on. Show lock screen wallpaper. I feel like the big screen doesn't do that on this, right? Say where that's like one of the low-key underrated upgrades of the Z Fold 7. The big screen on the previous Z Folds and the Z Fold 6, even though the outer display can do that, show the wallpaper when your phone is locked, the big screen cannot do that on the Z Fold 6. It's just a black screen. So the fact that it's here silently on the Z Fold 7, that's actually really sick. Like you see your widgets and stuff versus just the icons. That's really cool. I like that. The nav bar, I also like the nav bar as well. And then advanced features. So here's where I live the most in settings. Bixby is low-key underrated. I think you guys should use it for basic things like navigating your phone, turning on the flashlight, reminders, things like that. It's just a little bit faster than I feel like Google and Gemini. And the cool thing about Bixby is that you can also change the wake-up phrase. One, the fact that you can just say the name is really nice. But if you go to labs in Bixby settings, you can create a wake up phase. So you can actually change the name of your Bixby. Like let's say I want to call it Galaxy instead of Bixby. I can do that and I can train it to learn that new name. That's pretty sick. I don't know about you guys, but Hey G and Hey this, Hey that, Hey Siri, all these things are kind of annoying to use. So being able to change the name and the phrase you say is really nice. You could also just change the voice and the language and add a custom voice with your own voice if you wanted to. I basically leave it at default and I turn this to Bixby instead of Hi Bixby just for quicker access. You know, the sensitivity, I'll kind of adjust it depending on like how it's been acting. And you can also allow it to wake up when media is playing as well. There's other settings that have to do with like personalization, you know, using the side button to activate it. You can switch it from Google to Bixby or you can do power off menu. I'll just leave it as default for whatever. And yeah, I mean, that's basically Bixby right there. And then labs. Here, multi-window for all apps. You need this on if you are somebody who multitasks so that every single app will just work. There will be no apps that don't work. So turn this on. And then landscape view for portrait apps. You know, things like Instagram that didn't have landscape before. If you turn this on, it will force it to be landscape. Side button, we already seen that. Camera for double press. Google for long press. Motions and gestures. So lift to wake up, I turn that off. I don't like the phone just waking up. I like to see the lock screen before I even interact with my phone. Double tap to turn on and off the screen. Yup. Alert when the phone is picked up. I don't want that. Mute with gesture. So if you flip your phone over or cover the screen, it will mute the phone. Then you have the palm swipe for capturing a screenshot. And then you can customize the screenshots and screen recording settings. One thing I turn off is HDR. Personally, I just don't like HDR. I think we're abusing it nowadays. So I turn HDR off when I can. I just want to see things normally. I don't want the screen to be super bright and all that stuff. So turn it off. Game booster, leave it on performance, 120 hertz. And then, I mean, that's basically it. The individual game customizations, you could do that for different games if you want to lock it at 60 or whatever. But just leaving it at 120 hertz and performance is all you really need. There's not really too many options when it comes to customizing individual games on Samsung devices. So yeah, Galaxy Avatar, don't mess around with that. Dual Messenger, I also don't use that. One hand mode is something that I do use though. So you can swipe down and it turns the screen small. People used to say like, oh, why would you want to do that on the big screen? Because I talked about it as being a feature that other foldable phones don't have. And I feel like it's very useful because if I'm carrying something in my other hand, say I'm carrying, you know, this, or like I'm carrying my daughter, but I have the phone open for some reason, then if I do one hand mode, I can access the whole foldable phone screen and navigate my phone all with one finger, even on this big screen. So now I can, like, let's say I can literally like start like split screen sessions and all these different things. I have 3 apps on my screen right now at one time. Boom, open up to full screen, and then boom, just swipe down and bring it back. Like, I don't know how that's not useful when you might need it. It's just amazing that you can do it on both screens. So I have that on personally. All right, so now let's get into the keyboard real quick. And auto replace, turned it off. Personally, I don't like auto replace. And then suggesting stickers, turn that off. Typing options, I leave those ones on. Keyboard toolbar, I leave that on as well. I personally like the standard keyboard. I don't like the split one that much, so I leave it as standard. And then swipe to type, turn that on. Touch feedback, turn off the character preview and leave the rest. Actually, I'll turn off the sound as well. Save screenshots to the clipboard, turn that on. And then if I go into the keyboard, I also like to have the keyboard size here. and I can quickly adjust the size if I need to. I like to have my keyboard a little bit shorter and smaller, and you can also move it around if you want, and then reset it if you make a mistake. But yeah, so this is basically what my keyboard looks like. Very simple, very easy to use, very fast, very easy. Then there are a few other things that I might customize on my phone, but that's basically it for like settings and stuff. So I'll get back to customizing my home screen. Reminders is something I also use. So I'll put that right there, and then make it transparent, and boom. I mean, that's like an example of a home screen setup that I would have on my Z Fold device. And then on the outer display, I'll focus more on quick things. So for example, the essentials, call, text, browser, and camera. And then let me just get rid of these things. Then I might even have the search bar, even though I don't like having a search bar and I don't use it that often. So I might do something like this, even customize the color. And then boom, this is a layout that I would have on the exterior display. It's mainly just based on like quick interactions, quick usages, and just checking things. Stack widgets is also something I like about One UI. It allows you to be more precise and more concise with your home screen setups and have more things on your screen without cluttering the space. So I have the reminders app, calendar, Bible, verse, and then I have like my sponsors / brand collab emails, and that's basically it for that. Then this is a nice widget from Samsung as well, suggested apps. So basically it will change throughout how you use your phone and what you're doing currently, and give you app suggestions. Because on the exterior display, like I said, I'm not going to be doing the same things as the interior display. So having app suggestions could help with just quick navigation and quick things. Then I can also quickly record audio with the voice recorder, just in case I need to like record a meeting or something like that, or an idea that came to my head. And then with Samsung software, they can now transcribe the audio in the voice recorder, so that's nice. Then also quickly toggle alarms, essential alarms. And then with these, I might even put different stacks, like for example having my steps counter and stuff like that, so that I can swipe between them. It will automatically switch between them throughout the day depending on what you're doing, or depending on what it thinks is the best to show you at the time. The bottom, I have the search bar, and then also my YouTube music. So when I'm in the car or something like that and I want to quickly access my audio that's playing, I can just do that on the home screen very easily just by tapping the power button, and boom. So that's basically how I customize my Z Fold 7, my Z Fold devices. So outer display is more for quick things, inner display is more serious and locked in, and like more options for what I want to access. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on what you think about these customizations, and also stay tuned for future videos. I got more tutorials, more thoughts, more Z Fold 7 content on the way. So yeah, until next video, we're out. Peace.